So we are back again, and we are still looking at exploring statistical arbitrage opportunities using machine learning strategy. So there is a machine learning strategy that was employed here by Zhang and Zhang and Du and Yang. So what are we specifically looking at now? We are back again. We are still talking about the same thing, but what we are doing is we are like sort of like building up. We don't want to just say this is what you must do. We want you to understand what is going to be done. So the reason why we take our time to talk about these things is because before we do anything, there must be a way or a discussion on determining trading signals, including opening, closing, and stop loss levels based on the dynamic volatility of the price spread. And who is the main guy in all this? The main guy is this guy, all right? This guy that you are seeing here written down there, sigma squared T. So this expression that you see here, or let me just make it a little bit larger and put it there and make it bigger so that you can actually see it well. So this guy that we have got here in the paper by those authors that we've mentioned earlier on, this is the main guy, and that is equation number 4. So why am I saying that is the main guy? We are going to pick up that later when we go. First of all, you need to, when you are talking about the stop signals, we are talking about uh, trading signals, the opening, closing, and stop levels signals, all those signals, because signals are what tell us what to do. All right. We need to take action when we get to a certain threshold. So, how do we know that threshold? This guy is the main guy. All right. This is the main guy, and they have written it over here, volatility. Okay, so from our Gauch model, the Gauch model, which is this model that we've got, all right, and from the Gauch model that we have is an extension of this of model 3, but then from the Gauch model that we have got this guy, the volatility, and we are going to utilize the volatility to set thresholds. So we are going to define thresholds or bands based on the dynamic volatility. So that's why you find that in the paper, there are certain times when they said we define lambda 1, they defined lambda 2, they defined lambda 3, and now they were writing lambda 1 of sigma squared t like that. It means they were defining thresholds. That's how they were defining thresholds. When this one was the threshold for open, close, and stop loss. All right. So define opening signals. So lambda 1 is the opening signal, and it is lambda 1 sigma squared t like that. So, and then you must explain what happens with the opening signal. So when we are talking about an opening signal, it's very important to understand what we are actually referring to here, because also that can be actually something that is an opening signal in the context of trading. We are actually referring to a trigger or an indication that suggests that it may be a suitable time to enter a new position in a financial instrument. All right. So opening signals are generated based on various techniques, and those are the ones that we are discussing. And obviously, the closing signal now will be the opposite of what we are discussing here. So we are going to look at all those things in practice. That's one of the things that I guarantee you. And sometimes you need to consider opening a position or closing a position, and you also consider triggering a stop loss and closing the current position that you'll be holding. All right. So open a short position when the price spread crosses above an upper volatility threshold. That will be the trick that you want to use. All right. That's your strategy. So this is the strategy. that you are now discussing to say, this is going to be my trading strategy. I'm going to do this when this happens. I'm going to do this when that happens. Because because obviously we have be having your own closing signals where you close a long position when the price spread crosses above a certain upper threshold, and close a short position when the price spread crosses below a certain lower threshold. So this is a game of thresholds. And how do you determine those thresholds? Honestly speaking, this is related to the data, to the type of stock that you're dealing with, and all the other market factors. And but again, you need to set a stop loss level. So implement stop loss levels based on the dynamic volatility. So, for example, you might set a stop loss level as a certain multiple of the dynamic volatility away from the end price. Okay, then only after that you start implementing your strategy. Then you monitor the price spread, execute trades according to the defined signals, all these signals that you were defining. And obviously, this is a strategy that is going to work, but you need to ensure that you have mechanisms in place to handle transaction costs, slippage, and other real world trading considerations if you did not include them in your strategy. All right. So the other thing, of course, it must be legal. Okay, we have to say it. It has to be something legal. So you need to look also at the legal requirements of you setting up such a trading strategy and putting it out to the public for use, for consumption. All right. So I think we've said everything that needs to be said. I don't know if the paper has got something. Oh, yes. After this, now we want to look at what they really did, or maybe we don't want to use their strategy. We don't want to look at that, but they do have a strategy. But we don't want to be biased towards their strategy. We just want to take the method that was used and consume that, but not to duplicate their own strategy. We just have to look for our own data and then define our own trading strategy, but we follow suit the work that was done by the authors. I think so. By virtue of that, unless if there is something else, I'll check in the paper. But I'm sure that we are ready to go now. We need to find the data. I think that's the next stop point. We need to find the data and start implementing all these things that we have been talking about.